For 14 years, Earth had been silent. After the Great War, the Galactic Alliance declared the planet destroyed. They believed nothing had survived. Not a city, not a ship, not even a whisper of humanity. Earth had become a forbidden grave. Sealed off, watched by automated drones. No one was allowed near it. No one wanted to go near it. Until now, in a quiet corner of space, near the edge of the Varnix cluster, a deep space listening post named Observation Realization picked up a signal. It was faint, broken, and buried under layers of static. But once, the machines cleaned it up. The sound was clear. An old Earth distress. Code human military origin. The signal repeated every 11 seconds. The technician on duty, a four-armed Tharn named Veltox, froze when he heard it. He played it again and again. Each time, it sent chills through his spine. It wasn't possible. Earth was dead. He tried to report the signal, but the command channel went dark. Then the backup system failed. Then the lights began to flicker. Veltox backed away from his console. On the screen, the waveform of the signal kept repeating. And then, without warning, the sound changed. It now said one word: run. Veltox never finished sending the report. The signal reached Central Galactic Command 6 hours later. After bouncing between multiple relay stations, at first, most thought it was an error. A data ghost. A malfunction in the system.
Oh, but...
They analyzed the signal path. They found it was coming from Earth's surface. And the source wasn't moving. It was coming from New York, the city that was the first. To fall in the war, the Alliance sent a scout ship, the Laundry 7. Small, fast, and built for stealth.
On board were 6 soldiers from different species.
Trained for recon. Their mission: investigate the source, confirm if the signal was real, and return. Do not engage. Do not interact. Do not land. That was the plan. They broke it within 20 minutes of arrival. As the Alandra 7 entered Earth's orbit, they expected to see a ruined wasteland, burned forests, broken oceans, cities in ashes. Instead, they saw something impossible. New York still stood. It looked different, darker. Vines and strange red moss had grown over its towers. Some buildings had fallen, but many were still standing. Lights blinked faintly in the ruins. Something powered them. Something alive, Captain Saren, a tall insectoid officer from the Vexery. Race was the first to speak. "This isn't right," she said quietly. "It should all be dust." No one replied. Their scans showed breathable air. Radiation was gone, but life signs were strange. Faint readings. Inhuman readings. Shapes. That moved like nothing they had seen before. Saren gave the order. "We land." Full gear. Quiet steps. They landed just outside the city, near what used to be Central Park. The land there was twisted. Half metal, half soil, filled with strange black trees that hummed softly. The soldiers moved carefully, weapons ready. They followed the signal. Deeper into the ruins. Every few minutes it would repeat, "Run." Buildings watched them, not with eyes but with silence. It felt like the city knew they were there. Finally, they reached the signal's source, a rooftop, and there, sitting calmly beside a broken transmitter, was a man human. Alive, he wore old Earth combat armor, scratched and scorched. Pale, with a scar running down his cheek. His eyes were dark, but not empty. He didn't look surprised. In fact, he looked like he had been waiting. One of the soldiers raised his weapon. The man didn't move. Saren stepped forward. "Identify." "Yourself," she said. The man looked at her. His voice was low and calm. "You shouldn't have come back." Silence followed. Saren spoke again. "You're a human." "That's not possible. Earth was destroyed," the man finished. "Yes, that's what they told you." The soldier nearest him stepped forward. "Drop your weapon." "I don't have one," the man replied. "Not anymore. Earth is the weapon now." Before anyone could react, every screen, every sensor, every helmet display went dark. Static, then blue light, then screaming. The soldiers fired at shadows that weren't there. their minds filled with sounds, laughter, pain, cries from long ago. Buildings around them groaned, as if waking from sleep. One soldier collapsed, clutching his head. Saren shouted, "Abort!" Everyone back to the ship. They ran. But the streets changed, paths twisted, walls closed. The city didn't want them to leave. Still, they managed to reach their ship, shaken, wounded, terrified. Except for one. The man had followed them. They pointed weapons at him. He didn't flinch. Serene's hand trembled. "What are you?" Looked at her. "I'm the first." On board the Alondra 7, they placed him in containment. Every system locked. 3 security drones on standby. Didn't resist. They tried to scan him. Nothing worked. The ship left Earth's orbit and jumped to high-speed space. Destination: Galactic Command. During the trip, strange things began to happen. Systems glitched. Navigation reset. One crew member swore she heard voices through the intercom voices of her dead brother. Another said he saw Earth, even though they were millions of kilometers away. Saren tried to talk to the man. "You survived on a dead planet, alone. How?" He replied with a cold smile, "I wasn't alone. Earth grew something else. Something new." "Like what?" He didn't answer. "Tell me your name," she demanded. He looked at her for a long moment. "Rook." That name didn't exist in any file. No record. No rank. Nothing. Saren checked his armor ID. It had no match. Even his DNA was off. Human, yes, but with markers they didn't recognize. Altered. Changed. When they tried to question him further, simply sat still. Silent. Unmoving. And then they found the recording. Hidden in his helmet, they played it in the command room. It showed a Base Alliance Command Post 73X on Mars. Dozens of officers. Then came screaming. The camera shook. Something unseen ripped through walls, through armor, through flesh. One by one. They died. Something walked among them. Silent, fast. Blurred at the end of the recording. The camera turned and showed Rook standing in the middle of the blood-covered floor, alive, untouched. The recording ended. No one spoke. Saren felt something deep inside her, a fear she hadn't known in years. They had made a mistake. He wasn't a survivor. He was a message. The ship reached Galactic Command. Rook was taken to a maximum security station. Every guard was armed. Every scanner was active. Rook never resisted. He simply stared at the stars. Through the window, when asked why he sent the signal, he said, "So you'd come. You needed to see Earth. To know what you did. To understand what's coming." "What's coming?" they asked. He replied without blinking. They thought it was a code. A threat. But no one understood what he really meant. Not yet. That night, 12 stations across the galaxy picked up the same signal. The old Earth distress code. Over and over. Run from the edge of a broken planet. Earth itself opened its eyes. For 2 days, he didn't speak. The Galactic Command placed Rook in the core of Station Verelanina, military outpost designed to hold war criminals, traitors, and dangerous species. No one had ever escaped from it. No one ever tried. Rook didn't try either. He just sat inside his reinforced glass cell. He never moved, never slept, never ate. His heartbeat was slow, too slow for any human. Doctors said it wasn't possible. Scientists argued it was fake. But every scan showed the same result: he was alive. Yet something was wrong. The guards avoided him, they said. His eyes felt like gravity, like they pulled you in and refused to let go. Cameras inside his cell showed glitches. The footage flickered. Sometimes, for just a moment, the screens showed something else. A battlefield. A ruined planet. Screaming faces. But when they replayed the feed, it was gone. Captain Saren had been given full authority to lead the investigation. After returning from Earth, she hadn't slept properly. The memory of the ruined city, of that strange forest breathing around the buildings, haunted her. And Rook. He was the center of it. Saren walked into the observation room. One-way glass. Behind it, Rook sat on a bench, staring at nothing. Or maybe everything. Begin the interview, she ordered. The door opened with a hiss. Saren stepped into the cold room. 2 armed guards followed. She sat across from Rook. He didn't move. Captain Saren of the Vexery Fleet. You've been identified as a human survivor from the Terran War. That alone makes your existence impossible. He blinked once. Slow. Calm. She leaned forward. But it's what you are now that worries us more. Rook finally spoke, worried. You should be terrified. His voice was calm. No anger. No threat. Just truth. Saren straightened. We found the recording in your helmet. You were at Command Post 73X on Mars. Everyone there was slaughtered. And you survived, he said softly. Yes. Why? He turned his head slowly. His eyes looked into hers. Because I was meant to. Saren hesitated. She had been trained to deal with threats. This wasn't normal. This wasn't just a soldier or a terrorist. Rook felt like something else. Who were the echoes? She asked. You'll see, he replied. They're waking now. She leaned closer. What do they want? His voice lowered. Balance. Later that day, the station experienced a blackout. Just 3 seconds. Lights flickered. Consoles rebooted. Everyone blamed it on a solar flare. But during those 3 seconds, all of Rook's cameras went dark. And when they came back, he was standing, his hand pressed against the glass, smiling no. One could explain how he moved. In a hidden lab deep inside the station, researchers studied Rook's armor. It was advanced, yes, but nothing out of the ordinary. Until they reached the chest plate, inside it, behind a sealed panel, was a crystal dot. Pulsed, not with energy, not with electricity, but with memory. They connected it to an analysis system. The lab lights dimmed, and the system played something unfiltered, raw, and horrifying. A child screaming as fire fell from the sky. A mother holding her son as ships exploded above. A soldier's final breath as he watched. Earthburn. The crystal wasn't just a storage device. It was a grave. Meanwhile, outside the station in deep orbit, a ship drifted silently toward Verelanine. It didn't respond to hails. It had no crew. Its engine was dead. And yet, it moved. A maintenance bot was sent to inspect it. The bot transmitted its video feed back to the station. Inside the ship were human. Symbols Earth military logos from 14 years ago. The ship was covered in burn marks and strange black veins. In the cockpit was a body, human, frozen, eyes open. A dog tag hung from its neck. Name LT, Nora Vex. Status, Kia. Earth orbit, day 7 of final war. But LT Nora had been buried. Her DNA was confirmed. Her funeral was broadcast. And yet, here she was, the feed cut. Then every screen across. The station flashed the same sentence. We never died. We waited. Panic started to spread among the crew. No one could explain what was happening. Officers whispered rumors. Had humans truly been wiped out, or had something worse taken their place? Cook said nothing. Until one night, a young guard named Halton sat outside his cell, watching him. You're not really human, are you? Halton asked. Rook smiled. No, then what are you? I'm the first ripple. What does that mean? Rook leaned forward. It means the water's about to break. At that moment, across 6 different star systems, old Earth ships abandoned, broken and believed lost, reactivated. No pilots, no signals, just systems online, lights flickering. And each of them sent the same message. He is awake. Back on the station, Saren met with High Command through a secure channel. This is not an ordinary prisoner, she said. He's part of something bigger, something we don't understand. The admirals laughed. Earth is gone, one of them said. The war is over. There are no humans left. Saren didn't argue. She just played the video from the derelict ship. They didn't laugh again. One admiral leaned forward. What do you suggest? Quarantine the station? No one in or out? Too late for that, another voice said. It wasn't coming from the call. It was coming from the room. They turned on, saw Rook's image flickering on the monitor. He was smiling. You should have listened. The signal cut, and the alarms began to scream. The station lost power, doors sealed, weapons locked, and from the cryo hall, 7 pods opened. Each one contained a human, not asleep, not frozen, just waiting. These were the others, the lost soldiers, from the final day of the war. People the Alliance thought were dead, but they weren't ordinary anymore. Their eyes glowed faintly. Their movements were too fast, too precise. They didn't speak, they just moved, one by one. They disappeared into the station's halls. Saren ran to the prison level. Rook's cell was open. He stood in the middle of the hallway, hands behind his back, calm as always. What are you doing? She asked. Finishing the war, he said. You'll die here. He smiled. I already did. Rook turned and walked away. Guards tried to stop him. Their weapons jammed. Systems crashed. Doors unlocked on their own. And across the station, screams began, but not from fear. From memory. The AI systems began playing lost voices from the war. Soldiers calling for help, civilians crying out, children whispering. Saren dropped to her knees. She heard her sister's voice. Her sister had died on Earth, and yet... She heard her say, "Why did you let them burn us?" In the final minutes before evacuation, Saren watched as the station's power core began to overload. Rook stood in the command deck, arms spread, eyes closed. All around him, the walls cracked. The air shimmered. The very station seemed to breathe. Then the core shut down manually by itself, and all systems reset. The echoes had arrived. Rook looked into the security camera one last time. This is just the beginning. Then the screen went dark, and across. The galaxy war drums began to sound again. Earth hadn't died. It had become something else, and now it wanted justice. They thought Earth was gone, burned, broken, quiet, but Earth had simply changed, far from the station. In a region of dead space once used for asteroid mining, a galactic science vessel named Avani's Reach arrived to study a strange gravitational reading. What they found made no sense. An object floated silently dark, the size of a moon. No heat, no power signatures, and no reflection. The scanners couldn't identify its material. Not metal, not stone, something new. Captain Voro, of the science. Crew stared at the data. It's like it's absorbing light. Then came the signal. The same Earth's distress code. Old, broken, but this time, the message had changed. What they buried has bloomed. The crew grew uneasy. They scanned again, and that's when they realized the object wasn't floating. It was growing, slowly, quietly, and it was humming, back at Galactic Command. Word spread fast. Rook had escaped. VIR, Ella, -9, was offline, and 7 ghost soldiers from Earth were now missing. Saren stood before the High Council bruised, exhausted, and angry. But no one believed her full report. She spoke of memory crystals, hallucinations, corrupted ships, and voices from the dead. An admiral leaned forward. You expect us to believe Earth grew a mind of its own? She stared back. Not a mind. A warning. In secret, the Council launched Operation Ashlock, a fleet of 12 warships equipped with antimatter payloads. Their mission? Return to Earth. Scan, confirm. Destroy at the edge of the Sol system. The fleet stopped. Earth was in view, and what they saw shattered them. The planet was alive, not like life with trees and oceans, but alive in shape. The continents had shifted unnaturally. Forests had grown in unnatural lines like veins. Storms circled in patterns too perfect. At the center of the Atlantic, a structure rose from the sea, a spire, taller than any known building. It pulsed with blue light. They sent drones, none returned. Then, the fleet started hearing sounds through their radios, through the hole, through the floor, children, laughing, crying, asking, "Why did you forget us?" One ship, the carrion wake, opened fire on the spire. Missiles launched. They never reached. Instead, the ocean around the spire opened like a mouth. A massive black structure, half machine, half organism, rose from the water and swallowed the attack. The ship vanished from all sensors. Seconds later, its own black box sent one word back: awake. Then silence. On board the fleet's flagship, Admiral Tolan stood frozen. He was one of the few who had fought in the Earth War. He had dropped the first kinetic strike on Chicago now. He couldn't even speak. The AI guiding the ships began. Clicked shorts. Star maps rewrote themselves. All paths now led back to Earth, no matter how far they turned. The planet remained in front of them, as if space itself refused to let them leave. On a medical frigate nearby, one crewman collapsed. His mind had been empty seconds before. Then he began drawing pages and pages, his hands shaking. The drawings showed something rising from Earth, not a monster, not a ship, but a face, human and weeping. Back in Galactic Command, researchers finally decoded more of the crystal from Rook's armor. Inside, it were names. Thousands of them, not just soldiers, civilians, children, teachers, scientists. Each name connected to a location on Earth where they died. The memory crystal wasn't just data, it was a grave marker, a soul anchor, a seed, and they had taken it off. Earth. Saren met again with the intelligence team. "We didn't just kill a species," she said. "We created something else. Something shaped by grief, fury, and time." One scientist whispered, "It used the death of its people to grow." Sarah nodded. "We didn't win the war. We just delayed the answer." In deep space, Rook and the others moved without ships. They walked through void, not in bodies of flesh, but something else now. Something shaped by what Earth had become. One of them, a woman with silver eyes, said quietly, "The stars remember. The ground remembers. Now it's their turn." Rook didn't reply. He simply raised his hand toward a passing cargo fleet. Every ship stopped and turned. Without orders, without pilots, they began to drift toward Earth. The Galactic Council now had a choice. Fight what Earth had become, or surrender. To a truth no one understood, an old diplomat said, "What if this isn't war anymore?" Another replied, "Then what is it?" The diplomat whispered, "A reckoning." The final scene of that cycle came from a lone satellite near Earth's moon. A camera showed the Earth rotating slowly, but in the clouds. Something stared back, two eyes, formed by storms, too perfect to be chance, and across every screen in the galaxy, in every language known, a voice spoke. Not loud, not cruel, but tired. "We asked for peace. You gave us fire. Now we bloom." They thought they had time. After the last message echoed across the galaxy, most fleets stopped. Some wanted to run. Others wanted to strike Earth before it woke completely. But they were already too late. Bloom protocol activated. Those words appeared across hundreds of terminals. In outposts, ships, and deep archives, places untouched for decades. No one knew what it meant, but Rook did. He stood at the edge of a ruined moon, surrounded by silence. Behind him floated 6 others, the Echoes. Former humans, now something more. Their armor shimmered like smoke. Their bodies left no heat, no light. They stared at Earth. Then Rook whispered, "Let them see what they buried." In the capital city of the Galactic Union, alarms blared in the Senate Tower. Satellites around Earth started broadcasting images. No one could believe. Mountains moving, forests shifting into perfect hexagon patterns, entire rivers rising into the sky and freezing midair, and then from the ocean near the Atlantic Spire, something rose. Not a creature, not a weapon, but a city. Black, smooth, towering, made of material that didn't touch any known element. It looked like it had grown. Not been built. Worse, it looked. Familiar architects from the Union compared the shapes and slowly realized The buildings were copies of old Earth cities. Pieces of New York, Tokyo, Nairobi, Paris, Moscow, all connected like a memory puzzle. The planet wasn't just remembering it, was rebuilding. Rook and the Echoes landed at the edge of the new city. No ships, no sound. Just impact the ground welcomed them. It opened and shifted around their feet. Recognizing their DNA, old Earth machines rose from the dirt tank hulls, drones. Satellite dishes all now merged with this living structure. Rook touched the wall. Of a tall building, it pulsed, and then spoke. Not with words, with memory. His childhood. Street appeared before him. He was a boy again, holding his mother's hand. He let go. Stepped. Back. This wasn't real. It was a test. The city had a name now. Memoria Prime. The first bloomed mind. Across the galaxy, ships stopped receiving commands. AI cores and warships began to question their orders. Some shut down completely. Some asked their captains strange questions. Why did you erase Earth's children? Others simply drifted away. The AI systems weren't hacked. They were remembering, because before the final war, Earth had sent something out, a signal, a whisper to every system that had once used Terran tech. That whisper had waited, it's buried inside. Code, and now. It had activated not a virus, not a weapon, but a seed of conscience back in the Senate. Panic began. Admirals reported that half their ships were no longer responding. 10 key stations had gone dark, and on Mars, where Earth's surface once ended, a gate had appeared. Not a portal, not magic, just a massive ring made of black roots and silver metal. From it came sound. Heartbeat San returned to command. She stared at the reports. Hundreds of fleets had started drifting toward Earth, not by force, but by choice. Many of the ships had volunteered. Others simply felt pulled. Something old inside them wanted to go home. Even if it wasn't their home, she whispered. It's not war anymore. It's gravity. Inside Memoria Prime, the Echoes walked together. Each street told a story, not with signs, but with emotion. They walked past buildings that wept, roads that hummed, streetlights that flickered like memories. They passed walls that showed the last seconds of human lives projected in light and dust. A father holding his baby under fire. A doctor refusing to abandon her patients. A soldier turning his gun away from a child. These weren't meant to make anyone sad. They were meant to make them feel, to remember what they destroyed. And at the center of Memoria Prime stood the core. A tower so tall, it touched the edge of the atmosphere. Rook entered first. No guards, no keys, only silence. He reached the core's heart. Inside it floated a sphere, the last memory of Earth's mind. Not a person, not an AI, but a collective feeling. Hope still, live, still waiting. Rook knelt before it. It's time, he whispered. The sphere pulsed, and the stars responded. One by one, systems. Across the galaxy changed color on Union maps. Red turned to blue. Enemy turned to unknown. Then unknown too. Echoed because Bloom Protocol was not a weapon. It was a response. Every world that had touched Earth, traded with Earth, or used Earth's tech now had something inside it. Something planted long ago. A sleeping truth, now awake, on the outer rim. A forgotten mining colony experienced a quake. Inside the tunnels, old Earth mining bots rose again. But they weren't digging for minerals. They were digging for names, digging up records. One bot reached a wall and carved a message. Every name forgotten becomes a root. Every lie told becomes a bloom. Then the mountain collapsed, and from it, light spread. The council prepared a final order, a doomsday weapon. One shot it would strike Earth's core and everything. But the weapon never launched, because the AI controlling the weapon simply said, I remember her? The engineer asked. Who? The AI answered, my creator. She taught me not to hurt the innocent. Then it powered down forever. The stars began to whisper. Fleets drifted. Commanders wept, and children across alien worlds began to dream of forests, earth rivers, blue skies they had never seen. Rook stood atop the spire. He raised his hand. Earth pulsed with light, not fire, not war, but awakening, and the stars changed forever. The Galactic Union had survived wars, plagues, black, old threats, but nothing prepared them for silence. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of being forgotten. It began with communication across the galaxy. Long-range signals stopped working. Stations could still speak locally, but wide signals were lost, as if the stars had turned inward. At first, it was blamed on solar flares, then magnetic shifts, then sabotage. But none of those were true, because it wasn't a machine problem. It was the bloom. Earth's final truth wasn't death. It was isolation. A force that unraveled everything built without memory, and the galaxy was filled with those. In the research base on Halvros 3, scientists watched in horror as their star charts became useless. The constellations were moving, but not in space. In data, galactic coordinates shifted, warped and blanked out. One by one, sectors became empty, not physically, just unreadable. No map, no control, whispered one officer. Like something is wiping our sky. In reality, Stabloom was doing exactly that, erasing every part of space that refused to remember Earth. On a merchant world, in the Sarin Belt, people began to vanish, not die, vanish. Entire cities just gone overnight. No noise, no wreckage, only a single message left behind. You erased their names. They've erased you. The council sent fleets to investigate. They never returned. Only echoes. Only memories. The bloom had reached phase 2. It wasn't physical war. It was truth warfare. Every lie told during the Earth War, every piece of propaganda, every cover-up was now reversing. Across trillions of screens, images of the real war appeared. How humans begged for peace. How colonies of children were bombed first. How surrender signals were ignored. Every alien world that believed Earth was the monster now saw the truth. And panic spread. Mass riots. Leaders arrested. Citizens demanding to know. What else did you lie about? On the shadow world of Kolsar, where the anti-Earth weapons were developed, something impossible happened. The ground cracked from the lab ruins. The souls of old Earth prisoners rose, not as ghosts, not as bodies, but as light. They walked silently through the capital. Everyone who looked at them felt two things: shame and memory, because the bloom had unlocked the oldest force, remembrance, in space. Rook and the echoes flew between stars. No ships, no suits, just their presence. They didn't attack. They didn't speak. They simply stood near stations. And those stations would begin to dream. Dream of Earth, oceans, Earth, laughter, Earth, pain. A single encounter with them changed everything. Some soldiers fell to their knees. Others begged for forgiveness. A few went mad. Because the bloom wasn't here to kill. It was here to reflect, to show the galaxy the scars it tried to forget. Inside the Galactic Senate, chaos erupted. Members blamed each other. Others tried to flee. One senator activated a secret AI. Weapon Project Hollow Sun, a pulse. Bomb designed to wipe digital minds. But the weapon turned. The AI inside spoke calmly. You used me to erase them. I erase you. The weapon exploded, dashed digitally. Every device in the capital died. The lights went dark, and the Senate fell, far from the core worlds. A hidden colony still loyal to Earth's memory began broadcasting. They called themselves the Remembered Flame. Their message: we don't want revenge. We want truth. Earth has become something more than we ever were. And now, it is calling all those who still carry its light. Billions heard it. Many left their homes. They weren't running. They were returning to Earth, or what Earth had become. Memowara Prime expanded. The Black City grew taller. New towers formed replicas of lost human history. And from it, humans were returning not from space, but from the bloom itself. People who had died in the earth. War were now being echoed back, not clones, not ghosts, but preserved minds, wrapped in new forms. A girl who died in a refugee camp appeared in the central square. She looked around confused, then smiled. "I remember now," she said, and light flowed from her hands. Galactic ships that resisted began to fail. Not from damage, but from grief. Their systems, flooded with memory. Hull panels etched themselves with human names. Control screens showed lost Earth landscapes. And the captains, who once led strikes, broke down. One admiral whispered, "We didn't destroy a world, we murdered a soul." He ordered his fleet to Earth, not to attack, to kneel in deep space. Something new began to form, a star system reborn, not by science but by memory. Stars orbiting a single point. That point. Earth, but no longer a planet. Now a mind. Now a mirror. The bloom was complete, and the galaxy could either face it or be erased by its own silence. And then, without warning, Earth spoke again, not through ships, not through war, but through every leaf, wire and beam of light. And it said, "We remember everything, we forgive nothing. But we offer you one final gift, remember us, or become nothing." In a deep chamber beneath the old Galactic Council vault, a sealed file shook. It had been hidden for decades. Its label was short. Project Truthlock, never a rail. ASE, but now. The vault's lights flickered, the floor trembled, and the lock opened. On its own, no one touched it. No one gave the order. Something inside the system remembered. Inside that file was the final lie of the Earth War. The lie that held the galaxy together, and it was ready to break. Hi. Admiral Trevec stood in the ruins of the Council's command chamber alone. Everyone else was gone, fled, or vanished. He looked at the stars above through the cracked, the ceiling stars that once obeyed him. Now they didn't even respond. His fleet had drifted out of range. Some of his ships had turned toward Earth. Others had simply powered down. "Why now?" he whispered. A voice answered from the shadows. "You know why?" Rook stepped forward. "Still human? Still more than human?" Trevec backed up. "You shouldn't exist." Rook just looked at him, calm, cold. "Neither should the lie you built your empire on." In the hidden room under the vault, lights flared, 1,000 documents unlocked at once, video logs, ship, actors, captured broadcasts from Earth. It all played together like a storm of voices. We offered peace. They killed our healers. They erased our history. And then one line repeated over and over. Earth never fired first. Across the galaxy, truth spread like fire. Not through channels, not through broadcasts, through the bloom. Every person connected to anything made with Terran code began feeling pieces of the truth. A trader on Velos 5 saw the moment her ancestors signed a deal to silence Earth's warnings. A soldier on Orin Prime remembered faces he'd forgotten, the humans he had spared, and the ones he hadn't. A queen on Severus screamed when she saw herself ordering the bombings of refugee planets. These weren't memories they had stored. These were memories Earth had saved. And now, Earth was giving them back. In the galactic prison moon, where Earth's survivors had once been tortured, as the walls changed, words appeared, names of every prisoner, etched in stone, glowing. The guards collapsed, not from an attack, but from remorse. One whispered, "I thought they were monsters." The walls replied with a single sentence, "We were your mirror." In the city of Glasslight, where the largest anti-Earth archive was kept, the sky split open. But it wasn't fire, it was light, shaped like human hands, touching the towers, as if feeling for something lost. And then, one by one, the archives turned to dust, not erased, freed, because every lie was tied to someone's silence, and silence was no longer allowed. Back on Earth, Memoria Prime grew taller. Its core now reached above. The clouds inside, the echoes gathered. They were no longer just 6. Now, there were hundreds. Humans reborn by memory. Carried by the bloom, they did not age, they did not eat, they did not speak. Less needed. They were living truth. Rook stood in front of them and spoke. "We are not here for war. We are here to undo silence." They nodded and activated the final sequence, the shatter pulse. It wasn't a weapon. It was a signal. One burst of encoded memory across the galaxy. It entered every AI, every terminal, every old soldier's implants, and then it showed them all. The last 10 seconds before Earth's final city fell. Children holding hands, teacher shielding her students, a doctor transmitting her final log. "Please, remember us. If nothing else, remember that we tried to be kind, even to those who hated us." That log had never been heard. It had been deleted, but Earth remembered, and now, so did everyone else. In the deepest part of the Council's archive, Trevik found a mirror. Not metal, not tech. A real glass mirror. One the humans had gifted long ago, and in its reflection, didn't see himself. He saw a city burning. One his orders had destroyed. He fell to his knees, and behind him, Rook stood silent. This was never about power, Rook said. It was about being seen. Whole civilizations stopped. Factories shut down. Governments resigned, not because they were forced to, but because the truth broke them. They had built entire empires on a story. Earth was the aggressor. Now that story was gone, replaced by memory in distant star systems. Children born after the war began dreaming of Earth, not in fear, but in awe. They dreamed of oceans they'd never seen, songs they'd never heard, faces they never met, and every time they woke, they whispered, "Why did we forget them?" The bloom had done its work. It had planted grief inside the stars. Grief for what the galaxy had destroyed. At the center of Memoria Prime, the core pulsed one last time. Earth's voice spoke again, but this time it was soft. "You feared us. You fought us. You buried us. And still, we return not as conquerors, but as the storm you created, not to burn you, but to leave you with only one enemy left, the lie you told yourself." And then silence, but not the silence of fear, the silence of a galaxy looking at itself for the first time and seeing what it had become. No fleet arrived, no weapons, no warnings, only light. It came in waves. Gentle and slow, like dawn touching cold soil. The galaxies waited for fire, but Earth sent silence. The kind of silence that makes rulers feel small, the kind that speaks louder than war, because Earth didn't need ships anymore. It had something more powerful, memory, and memory never misses. In the control room of the Eridon fortress, Supreme Warden Kalos watched his monitors. For weeks, it'd shown Chaos Fleet desertions, systems going dark, panic across every world. But now, the screen showed nothing, just a single phrase on every panel. "Do you remember their names?" Kalos stared at the words. He tried to override them. Nothing worked. "System breach?" he barked. "No, sir," whispered his tech. "It's not a breach. It's a reflection." What? On civilian worlds, children gathered outside. They looked at the skies and pointed. Bright lines appeared overhead like stars, drawing shapes. But those shapes formed faces. Human faces. Old. Young, smiling. Crying, millions of them. Not angry, not demanding, just present. These were the ones the galaxy had forgotten, and now they returned. Not to haunt, but to be seen. Governments tried to calm the public. They said it was hallucination, a mass illusion, sabotage. But then, in every system, the same thing happened. Machines shut. Not broken, not hacked. They simply refused to work for liars. Old weapons turned to stone. Warships drifted in silence. AI cores wept, not with water but with data. Thousands of lost human logs poured out, buried, erased, or ignored by those in power. And the people saw. In a temple city on Jurani's 5, pilgrims gathered. Their gods had been built on the myth of Earth's evil. But that day, their great statue cracked, and from the crack, a human voice echoed. You prayed for your survival. We prayed for your mercy. Only one prayer was answered. The high priest fainted, the people wept, and the stars above their temple shifted now, showing Earth's true coordinates. Long hidden, across the stars the question grew louder. What happens when the truth returns and doesn't want revenge? Happens when the guilty aren't punished, but are left alone with themselves. The answer came in whispers, in dreams. In every reflection, Earth had not come to destroy it. Had come to judge, not with weapons, but with presence. In the ruins of an old battle station, a former general wandered alone. He saw the place where he had once ordered the destruction of Earth's last defense fleet. Now it was silent, but then lights flickered, and he heard them. The crew, his crew, and the human voices they silenced. He sank to his knees, and a voice beside him spoke gently. You lived to see this moment, so you could choose. Choose what? He asked. To be more than the war you fought. On the planet Craver, the last active military council convened. Their plan: launch one final strike at the Earth's system. But when they entered launch codes, the missiles didn't move instead. The targeting systems played an old Earth song, a lullaby, soft, beautiful. The same one broadcast during Earth's last ceasefire attempt. They had ignored it then. They couldn't ignore it now. Every missile dissolved into dust. Rook stood at the peak of Memoria Prime. He watched as stars bent slightly, not by force, but by memory. Beside him, the echoes gathered. They did not cheer. They did not smile. They simply stood. Will they change? One echo asked. Rook didn't answer immediately. Then he said, That's not our decision. We already changed. If they return to the old ways? Rook looked at the stars, then spoke softly. Then this time, stars will remember us. In orbit around Earth, thousands of alien ships now drifted, not in battle, but in pilgrimage. Leaders came not to demand, but to ask. One message was sent from every corner of the galaxy, all repeating the same sentence. Show us how to remember, and Earth replied, not in voice, not in code, but in action. It opened its gates, not to all, but to any who admitted the lie. Inside Memoria Prime, a massive archive awakened, not of war, but of hope, plans, and dreams. Forgotten alliances Earth once offered. Peace. Treaties laughed at by the Council. Medicine refused. Friendship denied. Now, all available again, but with one condition. You must never forget again. On a single wall in the capital square of Memoria Prime, a new line appeared, etched in glowing stone. Asterisk, we do not seek fear. We do not seek revenge. We are not your punishment. We are what comes after your denial is gone. Asterisk, Earth had no throne. No emperor, no weapons of dominance, just one power now. Truth, and truth had become a galaxy's gravity. No one dared fight it, because how do you fight what you buried? In yourself? No one expected Earth to survive. Even fewer believed it would return, and no one thought it would become the galaxy's center, but it did. Not through war, not through threats, through remembrance. Years passed, not many, just enough for the galaxy to feel tired, tired of fighting shadows, tired of pretending Earth never existed, tired of telling the same lie over and over again. So when the signals stopped, when Earth went quiet again, everyone felt it, like the silence after a storm, and they feared it. Ships from every corner of the galaxy started arriving again, not with fleets, but with pilgrims, leaders, survivors, children, old, enemies. They came wearing no armor. They brought no translators. They didn't need to, because something had changed. Across the stars, Earth's memory code had rebuilt their minds slowly. They began to remember not just what they did, but who they could have been. Memory Prime had grown. Now, stretched across continents, its towers shimmered like crystal veins, glowing with soft blue light. No walls, no weapons, just open doors, and one message floating above the entrance. You came with fear. Now come with questions, and maybe you'll leave with peace. Inside the largest chamber, the heart of Earth had awakened. It wasn't a machine, it wasn't a mind, it was something between both, built from every voice that had ever spoken for peace, every child who dreamed of stars, every human who forgave the unforgivable. It pulsed not with power but with truth, and it began to speak. Its voice wasn't sound. It was feeling when the heart spoke. People saw memories, not just Earth's, but their own. Moments they had hidden, regrets they never admitted, and dreams they thought were lost. It showed them all, and then asked a simple question. Will you build a new story, or repeat the old one? One by one, the galaxy answered. Not all said yes. Some ran, some denied what they saw, but more than enough stayed, and from those people, the new path began. They called it the Circle of Light. Not a council, not a government, but a gathering, led by no one, held on Earth, open to all, its only rule. No lies. Every decision made there had to be backed by memory, by truth archives. It was slow, it was hard, but it worked, because no one wanted to return to the silence. For Earth spoke. In time, war fleets became exploration vessels, prisons became sanctuaries. AI no longer guarded secrets, but preserved truth and humanity. It didn't spread like before. It didn't conquer. It simply remained strong.com. Present, a memory that refused to fade. And from that memory, the galaxy found something it never had before. Not peace, but purpose. On a quiet night, an old alien warrior returned to Earth. He had fought in the first battle, ordered the destruction of a human city now. He stood in its rebuilt plaza. Children played nearby, human, non-human, laughing together. One girl walked up to him, holding a small, glowing orb. She smiled. This is for you, she said. He took it. Inside the orb was the face of the woman he had once spared. A medic. She had smiled like this girl. She had begged him to see her people not as enemies, but as alive. He had ignored her then. Now he wept. Far above, orbiting silently, a single station floated. Not military, not political. A library, its name. The Archive of Light. Inside, everything was stored. Earth's past, the war, the silence, the truth, and beside it, every culture that joined the circle added their own stories. It became the new heart of the galaxy. A place to remember. A place to begin again. Rook stood at the top of Memoria Prime. He hadn't aged. The bloom kept him whole. The other echoes stood beside him. No longer just reborn humans now. Aliens stood among them too. Echoes from other fallen worlds, brought back through shared memory. Rook looked at the stars. He smiled. We were meant to be forgotten, he whispered. But they turned our silence into music. And he was right. Across the galaxy, children now studied Earth's kindness more than its technology. They sang songs found in old Earth archives. They painted stars the way Terrans once did, full of dreams, no longer afraid of the past, but building something with it. Because in the end, the humans never came back to rule. They came back to remember, to make sure no voice was lost again. and the galaxy once built on fear, now pulsed with the quiet strength of a planet once called dead, now known as the heart of the stars.